Folks, it's time to talk about this Macedon skull again. And we will start right over here. Now, this was going to be the Alka-Seltzer thing, but I don't know. I had an inspiration, and I thought I'd do it different. And yes, there was more cookies in there when I did it early this morning. Now, and I will eat that rascal too. Okay, let me make some notes so I can make sense. Sorry, folks. I ate my demonstration, and I don't want to do it with my last cookie. I think you get the drift. And notes, sometimes they work for me, sometimes they don't. See that little rascal back there? Keep that in mind. No, that says I gotta write something. I don't want to write nothing. These are stones. These are stones. Hard stone with a little bit of cortex on it. Hard stone with a little bit of cortex through here. Now all of these are filled with carvings, but I don't want to go into that right now. Hard stone. Hard stone with cortex on it. That's stone. Now let me move these out of the way. I dug this nodular or stone out of the pond a few weeks ago. This is the normal chert or flint layers that's around here. This is a pocket of iron oxide or red ochre. There's more soft red ochre around here. I dug this out for color. I have it in a jar. I could easily dig this out. It's soft. Now outside this is a layer of what I call the cortex. It's sort of stone, porous stone. And by looking at this in tiny, what I'm saying is that the cortex on stone has a way of deteriorating over many, many years. But I think I underestimated or overestimated the deterioration of cortex on these stone tools. Stone with cortex. I felt like the deterioration on these were happening a lot faster than I believe it is. I hope this makes sense. Folks, the reason I'm talking about this is this iron oxide, 2 or 3 inches under most of this soil, 6 inches maybe, of dark, pretty good soil, and you run into red clay. So this whole hilltop is basically an area where a lot of this iron oxide is mixed in with the soil. And this becomes important when I get over here to these bones. Another thing that's important is that had these stones, all of these stones that I've been showing for 2 years, had they been gathered from here or there, or all over the country, traveling trips or something like that, then they would not have any correlation to one another. But since they came off the top of this hill, then we have a sort of a foundation to build from. Folks, this is really important video, and I think you're going to be intrigued with it. But I have to stop, I think. Since I have this mastodon skull, I can see the difference between the deterioration of bone and deterioration of stone. Folks, all of these bones, including that mastodon skull, were painted red, orange, yellow. There was some charcoal mixed maybe with oils or something to give the black color. Not sure where that dark color comes from, but this painting of these helped preserve them. And that is why I feel almost certain that these images were carved into these before they were fossilized, because the image has worn or deteriorated along with the age of the bone. The carvings on these particular pieces were not done when after it was fossilized. It was while it was bone. For instance, this one almost looks like it has a hard stone, as if this was cortex, and for a long time I thought it was. But by looking at it with that feller back there, I find that bone, that the hardest part of that, very porous. That's not like rock. So this was a bone, and it also even looks like a bone. But more than that, all of these stones here, I'm getting pretty familiar with what a piece of stone looks like when they do the uniface tool making, starting with a large stone and ending up with a core and all that. And none of these stones show that. They do not show that, what I was looking for, like how did this come from the stone, and et cetera, et cetera. These are bones, and they're filled with carvings. This one has a horse on it. I highlighted that with color a couple years ago. This is, this bone right here was turned into some sort of color mixing cup, real smooth in there. And this has images on it too. There's an elephant right there, and it's deteriorated. I have to take that, in the idea that that giant elephant right there was not deteriorated when it was carved in there. And the fact that it's been turned into that color cup or whatever mixing cup it was, this was done by another civilization thousands of years after this elephant and all these other images on here. So, in other words, forever, folks was finding these bones or from the animal they processed, and they were putting art on them. Here's somebody that knows bones and stuff would know what type of bone that was, but that's not a stone that was carved from a rock in the uniface method. That's a bone. And when it was a bone, this fella's face was put in it. Beautiful image. It has other stuff on it too that I can see because I recognize certain patterns. Now that's a pecked out eye. At one time it had a little bit of dark color in it. Nice triangle eye, and it looks like an ear. It was carved on when it was bone. They didn't find a fossil that was a stone, and then, anyway, not on these. This one's that same image that I see a lot, which I sort of think of as a cave bear up there. But if you look closely, if I can get it right, you see the triangle eyes for the animal. And this is a bone. And this stone right here, just all by itself, not even considering these, you could spend an hour or two seeing all the images on this artwork. This is, I think I've shown this before, but this is another bone that has carvings on it. There's two elephants. There's one, and well, there's more than that, but this was a bone. This is another bone. And they have facial images on them and birds. This one, it's a bone. And they carve stuff on it. And the carving has deteriorated so much that, well, you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at the image. The quality of this image, well, that horse right there, the quality of this, the images they put on here was awesome, but they have deteriorated a bit. It almost seems like the further we go back, the better the quality of the art. Well, I can't say that. I don't know why I said that. But by examining these really, really close, I know they're bone, fossilized bone. And okay, so the question is when? And I think the answer is for these to be, drilled into or whatever it takes to date. I mean, if these bones can be dated, it could change the way archaeology thinks about these people. For instance, if this was a 20,000-year-old bone, well, they sure was good at what they did. And this is just the stone stuff. There's no telling what they did on wood and ivory. Another thing about all of these. A few months ago, I made a video talking about that I was going to start piling up the stones that had images on them but had no tool use. I find no tool use on any of these, and they're covered with carvings. So all of this was done as art. And that opens the door to a lot of thinking. But this video has kind of went too long already, but I will get back to where I can turn this over, show you the tusk on the other side, and this is the front side, and there's a hole back in here where the spine went and all that. But I'm going to stop for right now, and let's consider, again, I would like to say that by examining these pieces really, really close, I can tell the difference between a bone that was carved on while it was a bone, and the difference between that and a bone that was carved on after it was fossilized. This one, and this one. Oh, no, I'm sorry. All of these were carved on after they had fossilized. They were found and carved on. And I could look really close and I could show you why. Because they were fossilized before they started carving on them. And this one too. This, because I looked at it really, really close, I know that it has that porousness of a bone. And it's in the shape of it has birds and an elephant on it too. But it's in kind of the shape of a claw, possibly a tooth. But that's another thing. It even sound different. And the weight is different. Also, you can take one of these and just put it in water compared to a stone and drop it in water, set it in the sunshine, whatever, and it takes longer for it to dry out. But yeah, these are the ones, I've gone through these pretty close. These are the ones that have the carving on them after they had been fossilized. But all of these had carving on them while they were bone. The artwork on fossilized bone. And I definitely want to get back to examining these bones really close because they have some of the most awesome human images on them. And animals. This one right here is an incredible stone. And it's a bone. Just to begin with, there's an elephant with a, well, there's just all kinds of stuff on this stone. This is a pure work of art. That big old eye for that bird. His wing goes to there. His other wing goes over to there. Tail comes down to there. I can't wait.